question is, it's sent in by a sister who's 9 years old. It says, what did you tell people when you became Muslim and how did they act?
I told them I became a Muslim. No, when I became a Muslim, I hardly had to tell anybody. Strange thing happened. I was working at a Catholic university, Christian university, run by the Society of Jesus. And I was an atheist at the time, but I didn't tell them. Just wanted the job. Well, and I have a Catholic name and Catholic background, so, let them assume what they will. I got the job. Well, I was not on the job but 3 months at the University of San Francisco, and I became a Muslim. And there were only 2 or 3 people in the mosque that day, well, about 4. That day I became a Muslim, a student-run masjid, so I didn't assume that the news would travel very fast or far. Well, the next day I'm walking on campus, and all these Muslim students are coming up to me saying, are you the professor who became a Muslim? And I'm looking around and thinking, are they going to kill me or what? I looked at them, yes. And then a big smile would come on their face, and they'd say, congratulations, congratulations, all day long, congratulations, congratulations, everywhere I'd go, congratulations. Muslim students would walk by me, Middle Eastern-looking students would just walk by me, smile, and say, congratulations. So I started to get nervous. And I swear, if I walked into class and a professor said, congratulations, I was going to really get scared. But in any case, it didn't quite work out that way. With all this news among the Muslim community, that very same day, one of the professors on campus found out that I had become a Muslim. And he was another professor. Was hired a tenure-track job. He was just hired as a temporary, but he thought if I got fired, he could get my job. So he went around the entire campus telling the administration, every professor he saw, every secretary, any person he could run into, that Jeff Lang became a Muslim. And no sooner or not, this was from the beginning of the day to the end of the day, I had professors walking by me saying, is it true? Did you become a Muslim? So my start in Islam was, I didn't have to tell anybody anything. Within a couple of weeks, I was probably the most famous Muslim in San Francisco. Believe me, I didn't want to be. I just wanted to just relax somewhere, just be like everybody else. But I was immediately in the spotlight. So I didn't have to tell anybody. I had to sort of defend the decision I made right from the start. But my reasons for becoming a Muslim were essentially this. I was an atheist with very strong objections to the idea of God. Very strong rational objections. At least I thought I had. Through the process of reading the Qur'an, not only did I find a solution to those objections, but I discovered God in the process. And I became a Muslim. So it was easy for me to defend my choice. I told them I was as an atheist for these reasons. I became a Muslim because these were the answers I got from my religion. And they would just stand there and say, not bad. Makes sense. If I ever become a religious person someday, I'll think about it. So I had no difficulty defending what I had done. So right from the moment I became a Muslim, I was put in a position of having to defend myself. The only difficulty I really had was telling my mother that I had become a Muslim. Because she was a very devout Christian. And then I became an atheist. That was a big shock in her life. But when I became a Muslim, that was even worse as far as she was concerned. And I had a difficult time telling her. A couple days after I became a Muslim, I called her on the phone. And she was the first person that I personally notified about what I had done. And it was a very emotionally charged 3 weeks, that semester break, when I went home and had to defend what I had done to my parents. Because I had to explain Islam to them from A to Z. And we were up till 5 in the morning every night, my mother and I, discussing religion for like 2 weeks straight, exhausting each other. But in the end, she came to have a healthy respect for my religion. At one point she said, I understand why you became a Muslim. A person who thinks the way you do, I wasn't quite sure what that meant, But a person who thinks the way you do, I can understand why that religion would definitely appeal to them. And then she said to me, but I'm sorry, son, but I could never become a Muslim. And I told her I never even suggested the idea. And after that, we agreed to discuss it for a long time, and we did. But finally, she asked me at one stage not to discuss it anymore. And so we just hardly ever discuss it anymore. Unless she brings it up, then I'll discuss it with her. But I'll never bring it up first, because she immediately becomes defensive and has a very difficult time with it. So thank you.
Okay, Michelle, the next question is, when people tell you I want to learn about Islam, but because of my studies, or at that moment cannot find time, how should we respond? Is it because of their fear, or can they truly not find the time? I don't understand.
So they say they want to learn about Islam, but they said they don't have the time?
They say like they have studies, or they can't find the time to pray, or
oh.
So they want to know what they should do.
So they want to learn, but they can't find the time.
Right. Or it could be they miss their prayers because they have too much study. Oh.
Well, I don't know. If you're talking about a non-Muslim who says he's interested in learning about Islam, but this is not a good time for him, I always say to people, well, I mean, it's your choice. I'm not going to ram my religion down your throat, and I never will. But I tell them that I think that I'll usually reinforce them. I'll tell them that the search for truth and the search for a relationship with God is very important. I don't see how it could be more important than anything else in the world. And I usually tell them to start learning about Islam, you don't have to look very far. All you have to do is pick up a pretty good interpretation of the Qur'an in English and just read a few pages a night. It takes 4 or 5 minutes. I said it's really no great commitment of time. In no time at all, I told them. By the time you finish even the second surah of the Qur'an, you'll have a pretty good summary knowledge of Islam.
What happened when you read the first time?
Oh, well, that's sort of how, and the reason why I said that is that's how I sort of started. I had received a copy of the Qur'an from some friends, and I decided I would just read a few pages a night just to get an idea. And I read the opening surah of the Qur'an. When I got done, it dawned on me that I had just read a prayer for guidance. And I felt like I was almost tricked into it. Because I got to the end and I said, hey, I just read a prayer for guidance. I'm not a Muslim. I'm an atheist. I don't believe in God. I just read a prayer for guidance. So you can imagine my reaction when I went on to the next page, which began the second surah of the Qur'an, entitled The Cow. And it began, Aleph, Lam, Mim. That is the book wherein, no doubt, is guidance for those who have fear, have taqwa. I was shocked. It was just a voice from heaven was calling down to me. I had no sooner just prayed for guidance, semi-consciously, and now the next surah was answering my prayer. That. They translated it this, but this author happened to translate it as that, and I'm glad he did, because that's the literal translation. That! What? That? This? This book? That book! What book? This book? That book is the book wherein, no doubt, is guidance for those who have fear, who have taqwa. Religious consciousness. I was stunned. And so as I read through the Qur'an, I was intrigued immediately. What does it say? So I started reading through the Qur'an. And in the beginning it describes the people who will be guided by this revelation. It's as if it was written for a non-believer.